Hey, Mike.
Hi, Heather. How are
Uh,
you?
Doing good. How are you? I heard you had an adventure.
Yes, I am just back from Burning Man. I got back 2 days ago, and
My gosh.
I survived it just fine.
It
Burning
was,
Man is supposed to be, it's a, deliberately takes place in a hostile environment, and you never know what Mother Nature will throw at you. And in the end, it was just rain and mud. And I think the appropriate thing to do in that situation, which I did, is you just stay close to your camp and you make the best of it. And you don't panic. I think it's kind of a good thing to maybe get to know your close campmates maybe a little bit better because you're kind of stuck together. So I think that's the right thing to do. The wrong thing to do is to panic and to try to get out, in a panic, which many people did and caused a
oh,
lot of
yeah.
problems.
Oh, man. I bet you have some stories.
Yeah, I would like to share some pictures from the event, um, but what should we do first? Why don't we quickly go through questions that have been queued up before the show, okay?
That sounds good.
And then we
And
will get back to Burning Man.
sounds good. Okay. So, our first question from the audience is from Gene. Hi,
Mhm.
Gene. And he said, Today is National Beer Lovers Day. What are some of your favorite bottles of suds that you enjoy after a hard day's work?
I'm sorry, let me turn off this. I'm sorry, I need to get this. This is
Oh,
Mike.
okay. So for myself, I'm not really a big beer person. I don't drink too much beer. I don't drink too much alcohol. I like red wine, and I am super cheap. So of $3 red wine is perfect. And Mike, how about you? What's your favorite beer?
I love beer. I hate to just throw out like a few brands that I like. I like being experimental and trying different beer. I do feel strongly that beer should taste like beer, so I don't like chocolate beers or fruity beers or anything like that. Beer should be basically like liquid bread. And I don't like anything too heavy like a stout or nothing too light like say Corona. And I do like to patronize the smaller microbreweries, but I know a lot of the big companies pretend to be microbreweries. So I just like beer in general. And yeah, I don't want to take this too deeply. So that is my answer.
Okay, so our next question comes from Northern Jim, who says, "Saw on Cashman Bingo. I saw a Cashman Bingo with it almost a full card. I remember your analysis and the ratio was low, so I cycled to a lower bet with a card less full, but with a good ratio, and did really well. I wanted to thank you."
You're welcome. You did the right thing. So, yeah, again, you're welcome. And for those who don't know, Cashman Bingo is a slot machine where, as you play, you get coins, and when you get a coin, it flicks up to a bingo card like above the reels. And when you get a bingo on the main card, you get all the money on that line. So if you come up to a game that already has a lot of spots daubed, it can be a good value. And my site and my upcoming book will explain exactly, well, my best estimate of when is a good time to jump in and play. And by the way, I have a repairman coming like in a minute to fix my roof. So Heather, I hope you can like entertain the show for like 1 minute while I get him going, okay? And he
No
hasn't pulled
problem.
up. He hasn't pulled up yet, but just kind of to warn you, okay?
No problem. Got you covered.
All
Okay,
right,
so
next
our
question.
this is from Ari, and he says, Michael, can you share with us your opinion of Billy Walters and his book?
Oh, I'm kind of embarrassed, but I didn't know he had a book. So Billy Walters was a big name in sports betting, and it's said that he just had a bankroll of millions of dollars and hired all kinds of analysts to crunch numbers to handicap the games. He probably would not be above paying for inside information. And I heard I thought he was in jail for tax evasion. But maybe he's out and wrote a book. But I'm definitely I'm gonna write this down and look into it after the show.
Awesome.
But I really, from everything I've heard, he's a really, really sharp bettor. He was on 60 Minutes once. Everybody tried to, ride his coattails. Like if they heard Billy is on the side of a game, so many people would bet on it that it would make the other side a good value. And sometimes he would bet on the bad side of a game, like a small amount, to get all these copycats to ride his coattails and push the line. And then he would jump on the other side, the actual good side, with an even better line. But yeah, I look forward to, I had no idea he wrote a book. So shame on me for that. And is this guy here yet? No.
Okay.
Okay, he's just pulling up. Heather, can you handle the show for 1 or 2 minutes?
I got it.
Thank you.
Worries. Sweet. So let's go through. If you guys have any questions for Michael Shackelford, please put it in the chat. If you have any questions for me, now is a good time to ask. We also have some Burning Man trivia. So let's get started with that. Our first Burning Man trivia question, and this is just for 2023, not for any other year. How many festival attendees were stuck at Burning Man? So if you know the answer to that, put that in the trivia. I am going to go through here and see if there are any questions that I can answer. Oh, good. Perfect. Sorry.
Another question.
You ready?
Unless you're not finished with yours.
I am good to go. So we just did a trivia. I just asked the first trivia question, which was how many attendees were at Burning Man this year?
Oh, I'll send you my answer in the comments.
Okay. And then we have a question from Northern Jim. And Northern Jim says, in your Pai Gow poker video, the friendly dealer mentioned a special situation when it's the middle of 3 pairs that should be split. What is this a thing? And if so, what is the threshold?
And
you got the answer correct on the trivia, Mike.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I don't recall this. I know the house way, and I think the basic strategy with 3 pairs is you put the high pair in the low hand, and I frankly can't imagine a situation where that's not right. Maybe you can give me a link to the video you're talking about, because this has piques my interest, but I can't address it off the top of my head very well.
Okay. Do you find that a lot, where people come up to you and ask you questions about your videos and you're like, I did that 15 years ago. I don't remember.
Yeah. Like in my email today, somebody challenged me about something I said about Double Down Stud. And I have not seen that game in like 20 years, and nor have I written about it. But you just never know where something that I wrote 20 years ago will bubble up and someone will challenge me.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Paul, who says, do you have an opinion of Mickey Mace, and if you think there's any validity to any secrets played that he may have?
Okay, thanks for asking. This will give me a good chance to get this off my chest. So in my strong opinion, this guy is a quack. I think that he claims on YouTube to have the secret way to easily beat roulette, and I think he's now saying this about baccarat. And he says he can just basically that he walk into a casino and it's just like going to a bank and just taking out as much money as you want. And so he's also has like a big YouTube following, and in my very strong opinion, he's a total quack. And now he's coming up with a new claim that he's found an even new and improved way. And what I think that his game is that he's trying to get his believers to give him money to play for them. And if he, in the unlikely event he sees this video, I'm happy to talk to him, happy to meet him face to face, show me your evidence, let me watch you play. I'm happy to give him an endorsement if he can prove that he can beat either of these games. But from what I see, this has every red flag of being a total quack and a scam.
It sounds like when I was a casino dealer, you wouldn't believe how often people would come up to my table. Doesn't matter what table it is, blackjack, roulette. And they would say, I have this new amazing system and everything. And all I need is your money to play. And they would come up and they would try to hustle money from players. And there were so many of them. I mean, like, it just blew my mind how many people did this. And the one thing that I remember telling people is, if your system is so amazing and you can make so much money, why are you here asking other people for their money?
Yep. And these system sellers never have a good answer to that question. They usually will say something like, I'm such a nice person, I want to share in the wealth with other people.
Right.
So, but yeah, you can. Anyway, so okay. Enough about him. But it kind of makes me angry that people believe this nonsense.
I agree with you. Well, while you're angry, I might as well ask you a question that's going to make you angry. When is the new edition of Gambling 102 coming out?
Okay, I've been getting this question for at least a year. Here's what I can say is that I think I've said this on the last show, is we really gave the vulturing slots chapter like a complete redo. And I told Anthony Curtis, my publisher, said, I really want this done by the time I go to Burning Man. You know, so I think that we tried hard to smooth a few things out. And before I went, I said something to the effect, the book is not going to get any better than what you have right now. And he basically said, I agree. And James Grosjean's book is out. He can't use, I'm no longer behind him in line. I truly am at the front of the line. So, and, when I got back from Burning Man, I told Anthony, I am back. Is there anything I can do to speed this along? Haven't heard a reply, but I really hate this question, but I really think we're close. I do not see a single thing in front of this book being in the, the place where they actually print it right now, but I don't know for sure. If there's one thing I've learned about Huntington Press, the book is out when it's out, and you don't believe any timeline. And I'm not trying to disparage them too much. They are the best publisher of gambling books by far. I would recommend any book that they do, except, no, they don't do that book. So any book, dang it. Sorry.
No problem. Go for it.
I'm just going to let that go.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, they work on their own clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our
so
next
that's the answer to that one.
Yeah. Our next gambling question comes from Paul. Are there any laws, slot features, casino policies that you feel should be altered? I vote for outline slots with growing pots and pick'em features that don't show outcomes of chosen picks.
I could do a whole show about this, about what I would do if I were a regulator over slot machines. And yeah, I do agree that if there is a pick'em bonus, like you pick one of three doors, you should have free will over what you get. Like if you pick door one, there's a certain prize that you get that's already determined in advance. But a lot of these games, it doesn't matter what you pick, your prize is predestined. But the biggest thing that I would do is a machine should state the RTP. It doesn't need to be in great big letters, but it should be somewhere in the help files as they do, or a sticker as they do in the United Kingdom. I'm all in. So I absolutely believe there should be more regulation and more transparency in gaming. And that's all the time I want to spend on that one.
Okay. Northern Jim suggests maybe doing a live stream that is a reminder of the Wizard's 10 Commandments. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, not a bad idea. I'm not sure I could go a whole show on that, but I think maybe I might do not a live stream, but a video about that. So that's a pretty good idea. But let's go
Yeah.
on to the next question, and I'm going through them kind of fast because I want to spend some time on Burning Man.
Yes. And by the way, I'm skipping the Burning Man questions, so that way we can ask all the Burning Man questions when we're talking about Burning Man.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question is, please explain the standard deviation per roll or hand, specifically the 0.34 SD per roll for your hedgehog strategy. Does that mean 34% of one unit is at risk for each roll long term?
Okay, I recently made a video about a betting system I invented called the Hedgehog, where you basically alternate between betting the do and the don't side. And it's for the purpose of not exactly offsetting your bets, but having them offset a lot. And so the 0.34 standard deviation, I believe that means that, as I recall, that if you look at the total amount that you bet on the system and the total amount that you might win or lose in one, no, on a per bet basis, the standard deviation was 0.34. And I don't want to explain what the standard deviation is, but it's a measurement of the risk. But for example, the standard deviation in even money games like, say, red and roulette or player banker and roulette is close to 1. So this betting system has a standard deviation of only like 1/3 of that. So it goes to show just how of a safe way it is to play. It's a way of playing that will get you a good theo without a lot of risk. So that's about as in depth as I want to take that one. And I'm sorry if it didn't answer your question in the depth that you wanted.
Jack Ace asks, besides Huntington Press, are there any other book publishers that specialize in gambling? Are PE Press and Congel Co. still around?
Okay, it's Pie Press. I think he spelled it wrong. And yeah, that was Stanford Wong's brand. And that is no longer around. I think that Huntington bought it. And, I'm not sure what they're doing with it. And I think Congelco is long gone. That company I don't know as well, but as far as I know, they haven't done a book in a long time. So Huntington Press is the name of the game.
Okay. Our next girl who says, will you please determine the probability of completing the marching soldier strategy in craps? It starts with a $5 place bet on the 4. He continues saying, if it hits, move the original bet and all the winnings to the 5. Repeat across to the 10, adding money for proper bets along the way, ending with 1,200 win total. Last bet is a 400 buy on the 10 with a 800 win.
Okay. I've never even heard of this strategy before, but I wrote it down, the marching soldier, and I'm going to look into it after the show, and hopefully I can find information about it. And in fact, let's do a quick search on it right now.
And while he's doing a quick search, I just want to say several of you got the answer to the trivia question, how many attendees were at Burning Man? And Jake Ace got it with 70,000. There were 70,000.
Yep, and it's down a little bit. I think that last year it was 80,000.
And you got that answer right too, Mike.
Thanks. I heard that figure many times over there. And by the way, I saw a whole bunch of stuff on the marching soldier online. So I can address that again on the next show, and maybe I'll make a Ask the Wizard question out of it.
Okay, sounds good. Next is from John, who says, with the casino being open 24 hours and tables constantly open, when do they have time to balance the books and make sure everything is correct?
Okay. I can't speak to this that well, but I do know that they, like, let's say that it's January 1st. They might try to see how well they did over, say, the previous year, the previous month, the previous day. But there's always going to be some, shall we say, money floating. And I think that's what they call it, the float, like the money, like the chips that are actually in players' hands and being used at the moment. And they just have ways of dealing with that. Can't speak to it too deeply, but I think any 24-hour business like 7-Eleven, has the same issue where they're just accounting estimations for this kind of thing, and that's about as deep as I can take that one.
Okay. Our next one is from Travis Montgomery, who says, "Are there any 9 to 6 pay table video poker games left anywhere?"
Good question. VPFree2.com is always a good place to look for that. It is still out there. I believe that Harrah's and or Harvey's in Lake Tahoe have some in their high limit room. I think the MGM Grand in Las Vegas still has some in their high limit room. You may see that on some of the low denom games at the station casinos. In fact, you see even better on those games, but they're very low denom and don't earn many points. So it's definitely out there, but I don't keep on top of it that well. But again, a big recommendation for the site VPFree2.com. And their task is to list the best video poker games at every casino in the country. And yes, they are sometimes a little bit outdated, but there's nothing else that comes close to doing what they do.
Awesome. Our next gambling question is from John, who says, "If a casino goal is to make money, why did you mention before that there is a sweet spot for the house edge? Would the casino not just make games with a high house edge to make the most money?"
No, I mean, what if the house edge was 99%?
Nobody would play.
Players would realize that they're losing every single bet and quickly head for the door. So it's, and it's not just gambling. You have to find the right price for anything. If it's too expensive, not many people will buy it. If it's too cheap, you don't make a big enough profit. So, they talk about this all day long in beginning accounting, which I took in college. So, so it's a delicate business decision, exactly how stingy or loose you're going to be. And you'd be surprised how little thought I think casino management actually puts into this. I think that if you ask them, why are your blackjack rules this, they would probably say that's just the way it's been for years. And the mentality in business is often that to change nothing, because if you make a change and it works, you won't get credit. But if it turns out bad, you'll get blamed. So, everyone's looking out for their own ass first. So,
Not every casino manager knows what he's doing.
but a lot of them are good people that.
Oh no, I'm not saying
from burning down, but they're very risk averse.
You wouldn't believe how many casino managers got the job because they were friends with the owners and not because they had any clue of what to do.
Yeah, I don't dispute that for a second.
Also, too, with the house edge, I just want to add to just like what you were saying. If the casino won all the time, they would never have any people. You want to have people win because that win is what keeps them on the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you want the player to have like hope of winning. It's the question: do you want to shear the sheep or slaughter it? And it's assuming that you are in a market where you get repeat business, you just want to shear it. However, if you're, say, the airport, you want to slaughter the sheep because it's probably not going to come back.
And that's why strip casinos have a higher house edge, and then locals casinos have a lower house edge.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Enough about that one.
Okay, so our next one is from Travis Montgomery, who has the sharpest sports book in Las Vegas.
I really like the William Hill books. They have low juice, like 10-cent lines in baseball, if I'm not mistaken. And I also like the Circus Sports Book. So those are my two favorite. But if you force me to just one, you can't go wrong with William Hill. And there are lots of William Hill outlets in Las Vegas.
Okay, awesome. And our next one is from CSL, who says, I asked a long time ago if you developed a basic strategy for the Card Sharks TV game show. Have you had any time to do so yet?
Nope. To be honest, I just completely forgot about it. I know there was a casino game called Card Sharks, but I'm writing this down too. And I will hopefully look into it later. So sorry about that.
And Jason asks, what is the likelihood of in Ultimate Texas Hold'em for the dealer to deal themselves quads twice in 100 hands? What is the odds of dealing 3 quads in Ultimate Texas Hold'em inside of 100 hands? I get 1 in 655.
Okay. So let me go to my site here, and I'm going to search on probabilities in poker. And where is that page? Poker math. Shoot, that's not it. Poke probability. I will admit it can be hard to find things on my site. Okay, so in 7-card stud, which is equivalent to Ultimate Texas Hold'em, the probability of a 4 of a kind is 0.00168,067. So the inverse of that is 1 in 595. So the probability of getting a 4 of a kind in Ultimate Texas Hold'em is 1 in 595. So the question was, what is the odds of dealing 3 quads within 100 hands? So now I'm going to go to Excel. So I'm going to say equals combin 100, 3. That'll give me the number of ways you can pick 3 hands out of 100. Times and so that's 161,700. And so then I'm going to do 1 in 595 to the 3rd power times 594 divided by 595 to the 97th power. And then I multiply the 2. And I get 1 in 1,533. There you go. Maybe I'll make an Ask the Wizard question out of this, so I can go over the method a little better. Okay. So with that, I noticed that it's 3:30. So why don't we pause the questions for a while? And
we have 2 more questions if you want to finish it.
Okay, hit me with another.
Okay. I've heard the debates about bubble craps. Is it truly random, or is it some kind of random number generator?
It's truly random. What's the next question?
Can you mathematically calculate how often a point followed by a 7 out happens? I've heard it's about 28%, but I'm not sure.
Sure. So the probability of getting a point is 2, 2, and 3. And then the probability of a 7 on the following roll is 1 in 6. So you divide that by 6, and you get 11.11%, which is 1 in 9. So
sweet.
Here's your answer right there. There's a nice easy one. 2 easy ones. Okay. Let's talk about Burning Man. And I think the best way to do it is I'm going to just show you some pictures. So let's share my screen.
I'm doing that now. There we go.
Okay. And these are all out of order because some were on my camera and some were on other people's cameras, and they're all like numbered differently. So this is clearly before the rains hit, and this is me and a friend on a smaller art cart, and you can see how the driver sits on top, which is not uncommon.
We can't see the image.
Oh,
I
yeah.
see the folder with all of the images, but I don't see the actual pictures coming up.
What should we do about that? Should
I'm
we share
going
a different
to,
screen?
yeah, try sharing a different screen.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to click on stop screen.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to click on, what should I click on?
Present,
Okay.
and then
Share
share,
screen.
and then pick the one.
Okay.
There we go. Got it.
Okay. So you see an art car like with pink seats?
Yep, we see it.
Okay, and notice my huge hat. That was a very good idea to bring a hat with a huge rim on it because it is so sunny there. Okay, so I had a really good location this year close to Center Camp, and they did a party one day called the Cacophony Society, which was supposed to be a formal thing for longtime burners. And so we went to that, and this is me and some of my campmates. And this is two friends of mine. They were in another camp. And okay, so one thing that they have, and you'll see different pictures of this, was they had this enormous thing that I think they called the cube that was like these water crates. And they stacked them, I think, 8 high. So I climbed to the top of that, and that is me at the top. And you had a great view of Burning Man from up there. Okay, here's another picture of it, of people climbing up it. So yeah, so that is something that I'm proud to say that I climbed, which was not easy because the plastic part of these water containers went right up against the framing. So you only had like half an inch to put your toes as you climbed up this thing. But that's the nature of Burning Man. They like to make it a little bit dangerous. You'd never see something like this anywhere else because there would be all kinds of people worried about getting sued. And here's another person climbing it from the inside. You can see he's going up the corner. He might have been going down. And again, here's another view of the whole thing. So here's a picture of me and another one of my campmates at the Cacophony Society.
Love the outfit.
Yeah. By the way, a friend of mine made this.
Nice.
This is my magician's outfit.
I love it.
Yeah, thanks. I also have a vest for it, but it was, which I am wearing. I'm not wearing a shirt because it was just so hot. And okay, so two of my friends got a plane ride around Burning Man, and this is a picture that they took of the whole playa. And this was at, as it was ending, so it was starting to thin out by this point. Okay, this is me. You can notice the mud here. This is clearly after the rains, but after it started to dry out a little bit and you could get around. And this is a bit of a art celebrity. Her name is Alyssa Sokolov, and she made a chair that I'm sure is in a different picture, but I was proud to meet her as I love her work. And this was our camp, by the way, Jipunju, and we served sake and green tea. Okay, this is it. This is called the Vulva Throne. And this needs no explanation. Last year I saw it and it was called the Vagina Throne last year. But, you can see that this is showing the outside of the female genitalia, which I just learned is called the vulva, and it's the inside part. That's the vagina. So I'm sorry to embarrass you, Heather.
Yeah.
Okay, but I have a lot to get through, so let's keep moving. This is again on a muddy day, and the theme at Burning Man this year was called Animalia, or basically animals. So there was a lot of sculpture of animals. Okay, for those who know me, I love monocles. I always wear a monocle as a necklace because I am farsighted. So if I need to read a menu or something, I like to whip out my monocle and look and behold, I run across a guy who's actually wearing a monocle. This is the first time I've ever met somebody wearing a monocle, as opposed to holding it like I do. So I had to get a picture. And by the way, he's dressed. I thought that he was a Prussian soldier because of the spike on his helmet, but no, he was some kind of English soldier from, I think, the early 20th century, and he had a term for it, which I don't remember. Maybe somebody in the comments can mention who he is supposed to look like. But he had the whole accent and everything, and we were having a great time with it. Okay, so one thing near my camp was this obstacle course that you had to do in a wheelchair and crutches, and I think they were trying to illustrate how hard it is for handicapped people to navigate simple things like just a single step that able-bodied people take for granted. So I got through the obstacle course quite well. You know, they said that my time was one of the best. And by the way, I have no experience, but yeah, I enjoyed that. And here I am again at the Cacophony Society. And there is one camp called the Barbie Death Village that had all these. I think there's another picture of it later, but this is just one of those, things where you stand in a box and take a picture, like I'm in a Barbie box. This is yet another piece of art where you kind of went up this spiral to the top. And notice how few people are out there. And it's because a lot of people were either leaving, had already left, or they just, out here in the playa, it was really not so bad. It was really pretty flat, but where everyone camped, all people driving and walking around just created just havoc with the mud. So I was happy to be out here. And just me sitting in a chair. Like a lot of art pieces had just like a chair or a bench or a swing to admire it. And, this was the one for that piece. And here I am with a pink horse, and you could go inside it in the back. And I guess this is looks, like a Pegasus, like a cross between a human and a horse. I mean, like a human and a bird. I don't know.
I thought, a harpy.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know the right term for it. So I wasn't immediately sure what this one was, but these are 5 cats crouching down. And I was sitting on one like I'm riding it. And here's another art piece. Okay, here we are back at the Barbie Death Camp. And this looks, here you have a bunch of Barbie heads hanging down, and what looks kind of like, what are these things? Kind of like a harp, where there are different levels, like you might pluck these things like a harp, the strings. And
I was thinking it was like those balls that go back and forth.
Yeah, but there are different levels though, so that's why I didn't want to make that comparison. Okay, these shouldn't be in here. This is from the cemetery next to the Clown Motel in Tonopah. I could tell you stories about that, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to skip this part. Okay, so here's my actual ticket. I think just the artistry of the ticket itself is really outstanding. And here I am on the Burner Express. If you ever want to go to Burning Man, I highly recommend taking the Burner Express. It leaves from either Reno or San Francisco and takes you right there. You do not need to stand in the line that the cars do, but they have a special road that takes you right in. You will probably need somebody else who is driving to help with some of your heavy luggage, but this is just one of the best decisions I made. The 2 previous times to Burning Man, I drove in or was driven in, and so it is so great to get to Burning Man in a little over 2 hours from Reno. Unless you face the alternative, you don't know how great it is. Okay, here we are back at the Vulvathrone. And I don't know why I look like I'm in a circus mirror with this one. Okay, so here's a friend of mine on top of that cube. And again, I'm sorry things are so out of order. And here I am in front of the cube just after I climbed it. This was my bike that I used there. Okay, so one thing that I did was I served for the airport, and I was on what's called road duty or road control. So you're not allowed to just drive up to the airport. if you want to drop off a passenger, you have to have a car approved for road privileges anywhere in Burning Man. The typical person is only allowed to go right from the gate to his camp, and that's it. They're not allowed to drive around, and including the airport. But if you have an ART car, then you are allowed to wander around. So if you said, I want to drop somebody off, I would check that you had the proper license plate, and I'll talk more about the license plates later if I have time. And then you would let them. If they didn't have the license plate, you would make them park where I am here and walk the rest of the way. And for pickups, the passenger had to be actually there and ready and waiting, having announced himself. And then again, if you had the right license plate, you could go up and quickly get them. And most people, like they said, I'm here to pick up John Doe. And you would radio in, is John Doe there? And they would say, not that we know of. And so you would say, just park here and walk up and get them, which is what they usually did. And there were all kinds of other government entities, and saw a lot of ambulances. You probably saw one ambulance an hour. Yeah, so that's how I spent 8 hours of my time. Yet another ART car. And so this is my friend that I served with on road control one shift. Okay, here we are back at the Barbie death camp. So here is a whole bunch of Barbies waiting to go up this conveyor belt into the Easy Bake Oven where they meet their death. And yeah, they had that kind of sense of humor at the Barbie death camp. And you'll only get this joke if you saw the Barbie movie, but this was kind of like a lifeguard chair for Ken, although he wasn't qualified to be a lifeguard, so he just wanted the job beach, and they go over that joke in the movie.
Did you have a beach off at the Burning Man?
No, afraid not.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the view out of my camp, and looking at center camp, and again, just note how. And you might say that mud doesn't look so bad, but it was so thick. And when it was really wet, like at its worst, if you walked around with normal shoes with a rubber sole, it would pull up like 6 inches of mud. And it took forever to get anywhere. And it was really bad, really tough on your shoes. And if I have time, I'll just say really quick, if you're ever in this situation, either put a sock over your shoes, because mud does not stick to cotton as easily as it does rubber, or better yet, put your feet in a Ziploc bag and then tie that shut with electrical or duct tape, which is what I learned to do. Tip for you there. Okay, so after it started raining, it rained for like 3 hours, and then it stopped, and there was this beautiful double rainbow. Here you can kind of see both of them. And everybody was applauding this rainbow. It was too sticky to go out. So I didn't want to go out of my tent to take a proper picture. But this was the most beautiful rainbow I have ever seen. And it went totally ground to ground, and words just don't describe how great it was. And again, so this again was a view out of my camp when the mud was really bad. And this is out looking towards the playa. During a break in the storm, there was one really bad wave, and then it cleared up a bit, and then there was another wave. And again, just looking at the mud. I kind of like this one because it looks like the fish is coming out of the mud. And this is the man. This is what they normally would burn on Saturday night, but it got delayed till Monday night.
Oh, so you still got to see it?
I left on Monday before the burn.
Oh.
So I considered staying Monday as well, which I would have liked to have done, but my ticket on the Burning Man Express was for Monday, and I felt that I should, stick to the date on the ticket, which is, I believe, what they wanted me to do. So Okay, so next, this is the temple behind me. This they normally burn on Sunday night, and this is something where inside people leave messages for people who have died, and it's, I guess it's said that when they burn it up, it's kind of like letting go of your grief for that person. So somebody in my camp brought a message for somebody who had passed from a burner who couldn't make it from Georgia, and she couldn't even make it there because the mud was so bad, and she had to look after a 3-year-old boy. So she asked me to deliver this message, which I happily did, and this is where I posted it. And this is just an example of you can either just write on the wood or staple or nail messages to it, and you saw a lot of them for pets. Okay, so this was a campmate as he was leaving. He left early, and again another campmate.
Is it normal for children to be there?
No, this you hardly see any. I would say that there's one kid for every 100 adults. More pictures of the man. So I'm raising my hands because right before the man burns, he slowly raises his arms, and the crowd goes nuts when he does this. I'll say this is my tent, which made out great. You could see the brand is White Duck. High praise for this tent. It kept me nice and dry and comfortable. A little water did get in one corner, but that was my fault because I didn't attach the Velcro properly. But, and it doesn't have to be like this. You can tie up the sides and have what's it called? Like a mesh entrance behind it. And so, and people with shift pods, that's what this silver tent is on the left. The person who slept in a different one complained that it got wet inside, like really wet. Maybe it was her fault that she didn't set it up correctly. I don't know, but I was very happy with this tent. There's a little closer look, and that's a lot of my junk hanging out outside of it. Another view from my camp. This is another campmate. So this is, I think, how people should handle the mud. Just grab a drink and just sit and relax, and as opposed to panicking to try to get out, which is so. This is another campmate, and this is when the line for the Burning Man Express was short. It got huge, and it took me 3 hours to stand in this line. Now, to be honest, I wasn't standing in it the whole time. I had somebody else holding my spot while I shuffled load after load from my camp to this bus depot, shall we call it, to get ready to leave.
How many hours did it take you to get out of there?
What was the question?
How many hours did it take you to get out of there?
Once on the bus, it was the same, like 2.5 hours to get to Reno. It just took a while to get on the bus. And this time let me go back.
5.5 hours.
Go ahead.
So 5.5 hours total.
Yeah. So you see these little buses. Those, in this case, you got on these little buses, which took you to the big buses a half mile away, because I think the ground was so bad close to the camping area that it was too rough for the big buses. So again, this year they shuttled you out to them. And this is an example of one of probably hundreds of trailers and RVs that got stuck in the mud. And this is just typical. By the way, the porta potties just got disgusting through the worst of this, and I won't elaborate on that. Here's a typical car that got stuck in the mud. This is another picture from the bus depot. I chose to walk the half mile to the big buses, so I didn't have to wait in line to get on the little buses that took you to the big buses. And here's other people walking to the big buses. And this picture doesn't show it, but this is just a huge line of cars waiting to get out. I spoke to somebody in Reno. and asked him how long it took him to get out. He said 10 hours. And that's just the line part. That doesn't consider the rest of the drive to Reno. And a friend of mine posted some videos where she was got a plane ride during the peak of the Exodus, and it was just an enormous line of cars. Okay, I'll try to tell this story really quick. So I didn't really bring proper shoes there, but just by like a gift from above, somebody abandoned 2 bicycles in our camp, and on one of the bicycle was this pair of boots, which fit perfectly. And I often had to like go in and out of my tent, and to have like normal boots with laces would have been a huge pain to untie and tie every time I wanted to get in or out. So these were the absolute like perfect boots for the situation once the mud dried up a little bit. They wouldn't have been good when it was like at its worst, but I was just so thankful for these boots. And other little things just really cut my way during this whole event. Like I didn't have a proper coat, and I went to basically like a free thrift store that was conveniently close to my camp, and got one. It looked kind of ridiculous, but people were really nice and sharing during this whole experience. So things really kind of cut my way. Maybe I cashed in some karma points. And this is what it looked like. Like I had my feet in these Ziploc bags the whole time, and I didn't take them off until I got to my hotel room in Reno. And that's what it looked like. So a little survival tip there. And I think that's it. These are some more pictures from after Burning Man. This is an artist who makes a lot of the clown paintings at the Clown Motel in Tonopah. And I really like this one of Kim Kardashian, which I saw it before and I didn't know it was Kim Kardashian on my way up. And on my way, when I was in Reno, I phoned the Clown Motel and I said, I really love that painting of the clown in room 202, the female clown. And is there any way I can buy it when I'm come through in 4 hours? And when I got there, sure enough, the artist painted this custom job just for me. That's the artist. His name is Hem. And so I was really happy about that.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. Getting back to the license plates, I mentioned before how if you have an art car, you need a special license plate. These are actually stickers, and I'm a license plate collector. Could talk about that all day. But the previous burn, I nagged everybody with the Department of Mutant Vehicles for bumper stickers from previous burns, and I just got to run around and was unsuccessful. But this time, I just happened to bring up the topic with somebody who had I think he just knew somebody with the DMV, and he said, wait right here, I think I can help. He disappears for 5 minutes and comes back with a whole bunch of these stickers. So that just made my day. And these are the ones that he gave me. So yeah, just a lot of really like good luck with me at this burn. And of the 3 burns I've been to, this was the best.
Wow. And so you don't regret going or anything?
Oh, absolutely not. I had a great time. And, there was a lot of activities that got canceled that I wanted to do, but that's just the way it goes. That's to be expected at Burning Man, that anything is subject to cancellation and you're at the whim of the conditions. So, again, I had a good time. I made the best of it. Was I bored at times? Yes. Like when it was just pouring rain, there was just nothing to do. You had to just sit there and enjoy the rain, which I did. So, so let's quickly go back to questions and let's see if we have any Burning Man questions.
Sounds good. Well, we just talked about one of those Burning Man questions. The second Burning Man question is from Dalbrixon, who says, I know there's the leave no trace principle, but will you keep and frame a pair of the muddy shoes as a Burning Man 23 trophy?
Yeah, there's the 10 principles, and one of them, and probably maybe the most important, is leave no trace. They're really big on that. Like you are not like supposed to uh, like spit a watermelon seed on the ground, for example.
Wow.
Now, I bet a
They're
lot of
that
people
bad?
broke this rule. I bet a lot of these people that left early when you weren't supposed to because the road was closed, but a lot of people violated this anyway, and basically with the attitude of try to stop me. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of them, certainly not all, left a lot of junk behind. Um,
Mhm.
Okay. No, I'm not, but as to those boots, I'm absolutely going to use them. They now have a lot of sentimental value to me, and they're great quality boots. I'd like to get them like properly cleaned up, and I mean, I've already tried to clean them twice, but I just can't get that Burning Man dust color off of them. And but it doesn't violate the principle to value stuff that you got there. Like you're supposed to gift things there, and I have a lot of anyone going to Burning Man that is interactive will probably leave with a lot of like necklaces and jewelry and things like that was given to them. In fact, oh shoot, it's not here, but yeah, I there was one camp where you could make a street sign. I thought that was in here. Shoot, I don't want to run away to get it. But Burning Man has these very artistic street signs, and there was one camp where you could make them, and they had the official stencils, so you could make them look like the real thing, and they gave you the wood that was shaped correctly. So I'd love to show you that, but I know we're running low on time. So any other questions on Burning Man?
Yeah. Regarding Burning Man, are you happy, sad, or indifferent that Chris Rock did not, in fact, get eaten by cannibals?
So what he's referring to is Chris Rock was there, had no idea, and what many people did is he walked out because when it was really bad, unless you had like I don't know, maybe a Hummer with the best possible tires, could you even get out? So a lot of people walked out, and this was I think about an 8 mile walk until you got to a paved road, and even that paved road was tough because there were like uh, gushing torrents of water and mud crossing it. But as I hear the story, he called a fan and explained the situation, and this fan met him on the road and drove him to wherever he needed to go. And I did hear that I don't know what government entity, but I did hear that either Good Samaritans or maybe the National Guard was rescuing people that walked to the road.
Wow.
The part of the cannibals, his story is what his story. As long as these people made arrangements that their stuff got taken out by somebody else, I have no problem with them leaving. I think they, unless it was an emergency, I think that they probably should have stayed and embraced the mud. However, if somebody urgently needed to get out, then that's what they needed to do. And I don't know the reason Chris Rock left early, but that's what he did. So I pass no judgment because I don't know the reason that he left.
There's a video of him on a truck. I guess some people picked him up on the way out, and then they have video of him on there, and that was all over the news. Have you seen any of the news coverage about this?
Yeah, I tape the news every day. So when I got home, I believe this made the top of the ABC News on Saturday night.
Nice. Quick question, real quick, for people. We'll do one more trivia question. True or false? Did someone die during this?
I know
if you guys know the
death is when I was working the airport.
Mhm.
Somebody came up and said someone in my camp killed themselves. And how do we
it
get
was a suicide?
We want to fly the body to Reno.
Ooh.
That situation was never covered in my training.
That wasn't on the news either, because
Nope.
they just said someone died and they're investigating it.
I don't. I
Oops.
think the organization doesn't like to
Sorry.
broadcast any deaths that happened there. But I did hear that 2 people were electrocuted when I assume they tried to play their powerful sound systems that were probably sitting in a puddle of water.
Oh,
Can't
geez.
verify this. It's just what I heard, and it absolutely would not surprise me, given that probably hundreds of people probably did this, and a certain percentage are going to have that happen to them if they didn't keep everything dry.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I ruined the trivia, by the way, for people who are guessing that. Uvidiot says, "Did you lose weight after all this, and how much?"
Yeah, that's something that Mrs. Wizard commented on. When I got back, I think that I lost about 5 pounds. I don't know exactly where I was when I started. And when I got back and I stepped on the scale, this was already after like pigging out between Burning Man and Las Vegas. So I would probably estimate I probably lost 5 to 7 pounds through the whole thing,
Wow.
estimate, but didn't keep track of it.
Oh, wow.
But I'm sure I'm going to put it right back on pretty quickly.
What was the first thing you did when you got back to civilization?
So let's see. So they drive you to the Reno airport, and then I rode my bike to the Sparks Nugget where my car was parked. But basically, the first thing I did was I had a nice long shower. Very happy to wash my hair, and then I had a very nice steak dinner there at I think it's called Anthony's at the Sparks Nugget.
I bet that felt so good.
Yes, and it was kind of surreal to be in Burning Man at one time, and then three hours later you're in Reno and have access to whatever you want. It's just kind of strange.
Yeah. One more question. Why did you leave before the burn? Isn't that the highlight?
Well, so I guess you could say that the burning of the man is the highlight, but is it? For me personally, it's not that significant of a thing. Like if you missed it, it's not like your whole burn was ruined. It's basically just like burning a big structure. So yeah, that probably like 80% of the people who went did not see it because it kept getting postponed. And by the time it burned on Monday night, most people had left already or were in the process of leaving. So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't even, yeah. So for me personally, I don't consider it like a bad burn because I didn't see it, not that big of a deal to me.
Did you do any magic shows?
Yes, I did. I did a proper magic show at the airport. I believe it was 3:00 on Tuesday, and it was promoted pretty well, and it went really well. I had a great time doing that show.
That's awesome.
Great audience too, and it really kind of reminded me, why I do magic in the first place, because it makes people happy.
That's so cool. Well, it's past 4:00. I've kept you here way too long answering questions.
Okay, well, thanks, audience, for all your questions and comments and participation. I do want to say that this is live stream number 98. So number 100 is 2 more live streams away, and we are just in the early process, but we want to make it special. So for live stream number 100, I want to welcome personal questions for both of us. Of course, we reserve the right to not answer anything, but this is your time I want to make this kind of like a Barbara Walters one. So ask me some tough probing questions.
Ooh.
And you can, again, I know I'm a little bit difficult to reach, but you can leave them in the comments to this video when it gets on YouTube. And you can always talk about the show. There's a thread at Wizard of Vegas specifically about this live stream. But I think that leaving your questions in the YouTube comments will be the best way to go. And this will probably make it on YouTube in a couple of days. And thanks to Gilles Maire, as always, for summarizing these shows and he makes it much easier for me to describe them on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, you guys have plenty of time to think a question. It's not next episode, but the episode after that. Speaking of next episode, when are we doing that?
Okay, this is my busy travel season.
Ooh.
How, boy. By the way, reminder that the Global Gaming Expo is October 10th to the 12th. I mean the 13th. So I don't want to do it during then. I'm afraid we're going to have to go all the way to October 19th for the next one.
Oh my, it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
Okay, October 19th at 3 p.m.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay. Again, thanks, Heather, and thank you, audience.
Yeah,
And
always a
I went
pleasure.
kind of fast with this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's always a pleasure seeing you. Glad you made it back okay and everything's safe.
Yeah, I absolutely did. I absolutely, I maybe got a little bit of a stomach bug, but I had a good time. As I think I said before, this was my best of my 3 burns, and it goes to show that I hate to use this expression, but sometimes you just have to turn. If life gives you lemons, then make some lemonade, and that's what I did in a figurative sense.
Well, that's a great way to end this.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See you October 19th.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.